My wife forgot to turn off her location, and for a second I forgot how to breathe. Last Thursday, she asked me to leave a review for an Airbnb she stayed at with the girls for a bachelorette weekend. It would have been nothing, a 5-star click and move on, if I hadn't personally driven her to Ashley's apartment that Friday so the girls could ride together. Ashley lives 20 minutes away. The Airbnb link she texted later turned out to be 2 hours in a different state. I didn't know that yet. I just knew something metallic sat on my tongue the rest of the day, like the aftertaste of a penny you can't spit out. Saturday at 7:12 a.m. She texted from yoga, phone off for the next hour. Love you. At 7:14 my watch buzzed with a gray banner. Jess started sharing live location. She used to share all the time, then turned it off in spring with a laugh. Why do you need to know where I am every second? Even though I only checked it to decide when to start pasta water. Now it was back on, probably by mistake, and her little bubble popped into place not at the yoga studio she tags, but at a dented strip mall 2 towns away. A pawn shop, a vape store, and a diner that still sells Scrapple. I stared at the dot like it could confess. I forced myself to be normal. I folded laundry. A receipt fell out of the dryer sleeve. Ruby Street Tavern, $18. 04, Friday 11:52 p.m. Charged to J. Harris, member number 4127. The same night she had game night, Ash, on her calendar. Ashley, who does not live anywhere near Ruby Street Tavern, which is 30 minutes the other direction. I told myself not to be crazy. Then I did what people do when they're accusing themselves of being crazy. I collected an explanation. I scrolled our ring history. Friday 6:58 p.m. Jess walks out with a duffel, comes back in, hisses, "Shoo!" at the dog, slams the hall closet. In the morning I discover the spare key hook empty, but right then I noticed nothing except the second exit at 7:01 p.m. with a different bag. The camera froze her face mid-blink, mouth a knife's edge. I didn't watch the clip yet. I watched it after the bubble started moving. At 8:03 a.m. her live location drifted into Gray Oaks, a townhome community where every beige rectangle looks like an Excel sheet. The dot stopped outside 12B. My heart stalled, coughed back to life like an old truck. I drove, not to slash tires, not to scream on a lawn. I just needed the static in my skull to pick a frequency. I parked a street over. The morning smelled like warm hoses. At 8:18 a.m. silver F-150I recognized from HOA meetings rolled up. Driver, Mark, mid-30s, softball team coach for one dramatic summer before he quit, because people got too political about positions. Married to Erin. They did taco night at our place last fall, and Erin taught me a safer way to slice limes. Mark carried 2 cappuccinos, knocked, tapped the keypad, let himself into 12B. 2 minutes later Jess texted, "Just finished. That flow destroyed me. Picking up smoothies and then home. Want anything?" Yes, I wanted anything. I photographed the unit number, the plates, the trash can with 12B in Sharpie, and left. At 9:04 the garage door at home rumbled. She floated in smelling like someone else's soap, kissed my head like a flag pin, offered me mango kale. "How was yoga?" I asked too casually. "Sweaty in the best way," she said, adding Ashley might swing by later. She mentioned Mark wanted to restart mixed league softball, which felt like a suspiciously bold topic given we hadn't seen the man in months. In the fridge sat a half-used bottle labeled Gray Oaks Community Wine Tasting, complimentary. Last night she'd laughed about scoring a crate from a house she'd shown. They were going to throw them out. My life split into 2 versions that weighed the same and were labeled differently. I didn't confront her, because confrontation craves certainty, and certainty charges interest. I waited. Over the next 10 days I became a person I'd always sworn I wasn't. I snooped. I spreadsheet. I ordered an AirTag and tucked it into the lining of our spare key pouch, the one missing from the hall closet and, 3 days later, reappearing with an apology about her purse being Narnia. At 11:36 p.m. the following Tuesday, the tag pinged a short-term rental 3 miles from Gray Oaks. Exposed brick, city view, and an art piece made of bicycle chains that probably meant authenticity to someone. The lease hid inside M.E. Properties, which a bored paralegal friend traced to Marx Brothers LLC. I took screenshots, timestamps, and the sinking knowledge that I'd been drafted into a war I never declared. Patterns emerged: yoga weekend mornings, second showings on weeknights, Thursday staging consults, which aligned perfectly with the one-night Mark didn't drive the F-150 rec league practice. He'd say, "Boys will be boys," Aaron would joke. Spoiler: the boys were anyone but the one she worried about. I kept my normal taped to my face. Coded. I meal prepped. I sent memes. I lay awake counting the weight of her breaths like a miser. When she showered, I sat on the closed toilet and scrolled Zillow, nodding at kitchen islands we'd never buy. I tried to just talk, but every time I opened my mouth, questions stacked on the runway and circled in bad weather. So I talked to Aaron. I didn't want to nuke a stranger's life if I was wrong. But I had a note folder packed with dates, places, license plates, the Find My Screen recording, the ring clip where she slipped in at 12:23 a.m. and whispered, "Moose, I'm sorry," to the dog because she stepped on his squeaky. I met Aaron at a coffee shop where the barista remembers your birthday and your espresso ratio. I started with, "I might be off base and I hope I am." She stared, then cried like someone who'd rehearsed that exact cry alone. She slid me her phone. A Find My screenshot from last month placing Mark at the same rental. A Venmo payment captioned, "Cleaning, thanks," with a key emoji and a text from unknown. "You left your hoodie at mine. Running late, but I'll wash it for you. Jay." We looked at each other like audience members who've sat through the same magic trick and are tired of pretending. She wanted to call right there. Burn it all down. I wanted the truth, but I also wanted my dignity. We picked a date for what Reddit calls exposure day. Not revenge, clarity under bright lights. Before that, I tested reality one more time. Thursday night, Jess announced a late staging walkthrough. I promised tacos, told her I'd wait up. She kissed me, grabbed the hall closet pouch she thought I didn't notice, drove off, and the AirTag dock glided straight to the rental. At 8:40 it moved, stopping behind Gray Oaks 12B at 9:06. At 9:14 she texted, "Running behind. Don't wait up if you're tired. Love you." Aaron had added me to her ring. At 9:17 the camera caught a denim jacket silhouette on the stoop. Mark opened. The hug lasted a beat too long. Her face tucked into his neck like homecoming. A kiss that deserved different weather. I didn't smash a thing. I folded a dish towel into a perfect square, like a plug for a hole. At 11:50 she slipped into our room, set her bag down, sighed with the ease of someone arriving in the right life, then saw me awake and performed fatigue. That went longer than planned. We had to move a whole sectional. I wanted her to say the sentence that unravels the knot. My voice betrayed me. "No worries." She slid into bed, found my hand in the dark, and squeezed. I remembered all the times I'd been her first call. Broker's license, her dad's hip, the day her grad school cat disappeared and returned 6 months later like an apology, and lay there 10 feet from the answer to every question I was afraid to ask. Sunday at 1, Aaron and I walked into the rental together. Mark was already there, trying to look like a guy in his own living room and not a kid caught shoplifting. Jess arrived late, keys jangling, same denim jacket. She saw me, stumbled like the floor tilted. "Hi," I said. She put the keys down. She didn't ask what's going on, because thunder was unnecessary. Lightning stood in front of her. Me, Aaron, and a manila folder labeled Tuesday nights. "I didn't want to do this at home," I said. "I wanted to do it where the air already knows the truth." The first thing Jess said was small and real. "I made a mess." Aaron laughed in a way that wasn't kind and didn't need to be. Mark finally found his line. "Is this an intervention?" "That's when people try to save your life," Aaron said. "This is when we try to save ours." I laid out dates, times, receipts, clips, a neat AirTag ping map, Venmos, and my favorite mistake, the live location bubble. Jess didn't insult us with denial. She said she was sorry, and the apology landed with the heavy thud of something true. "I'm so sorry." "How long?" I asked. Since February, she said, and 9 months lined up like soldiers. Valentine's week, the new leggings, the Ruby Street receipt. Enough time to grow a whole person and we'd grown something else. Why? I asked, the question everyone thinks they want until they get fogged back for an answer. She talked about feeling unseen, about drifting, about missing who she was before mortgages and the dog who always chooses my side of the bed, about the high of being looked at like a secret by someone who didn't watch you throw up on Cinco de Mayo 2018. I listened like a husband, which is the cruelest reflex. Nodding, holding space, giving oxygen to a thing that needed a locked door. Erin left halfway through. Not dramatically. She tucked the folder under her arm, told Mark to leave the house keys on the counter when he moved out, and walked into the Sunday where toddlers were melting down over cookies. Mark sputtered after her. Jess said we could fix this. Therapy. Deleting numbers. No contact. Full transparency. I'll hand you the keys to my phone, my email, my brain if I can figure out how, she said. I said I needed air. At home, I moved into the guest room. I turned down the volume on small talk about beet hummus. I told her I'd speak to a lawyer, not because I was done, but because I needed to know what done costs in dollars and Tuesdays. She cried for 3 days, tried to hand me her passwords and her throat, circled apologies until they ran out of oxygen. I found a therapist, Dr. K, who treats betrayal like a limb that can be reattached only if you get it on ice fast. Stop interrogating, she said. Your brain thinks more facts equal closure. It's lying. You have enough facts. Now you need boundaries. She taught me about trickle truth, how cheaters remember more in slow drips, because they barely recorded it at the time, which is its own cruelty. She told me to write what I want my life to look like in a year without using if she or if he. I wrote, a quiet morning without it on a map, a kitchen where laughter doesn't echo off doubt, trusting my dog more than my doorbell camera. Jess started therapy too, separate, then together. She told the night it began like a storyboard. Team happy hour, late client consult, a line crossed with a shrug. I could imagine it too well, and the lack of explicit pictures didn't help. We set rules. No contact with Mark. Transparency with devices, tempered by the fact that surveillance is not a marriage. STD tests because health isn't a moral trophy for fidelity. A postnup, because consequences aren't abuse, they're a map. If she strayed again, there'd be a boring, clear outcome that protected my time and the dog I loved before he ever picked a favorite human. For a week she did everything right. Check-ins, hard answers, quiet togetherness, moving through the house like a careful museum visitor reading placards. Then I found the hoodie, inside out in a laundry basket, smelling like a cologne I'd never choose. Not new, months old maybe, but here. She said it was a client's hoodie left at a showing and she forgot to return it. It was such a lazy lie, the laziness cut deeper than the lie. I hung it in the hall closet on the spare key hook like evidence and waited to see if it would move. Didn't. Instead, Jess wrote me a letter on paper, 3 pages about being 16 and transferring schools midyear and learning to be whoever the room demanded, about our first apartment and choosing the ugly lamp together, about panic and breath and how humiliating it felt to be a cliché. She didn't ask for forgiveness, just a verdict. Are we a story that changes genres or one that ends on this page? I wrote back that I loved her and love isn't the same as pretending bones aren't broken. I said I didn't want to be the police. I said I needed to feel safe in my own house and I didn't. She asked for time. I gave it until time looked less like grace and more like an alibi. The night I decided, nothing happened. No dramatic text. No new car in the driveway. Just a Thursday that fit like a shirt I'd outgrown. I made pasta. We joked about a bug at work that only appears if a window is exactly 11 inches wide, and about a client who wants a backyard but hates grass. After, she reached for my hand. I let her hold it and watched our knuckles look like strangers and then like us. I think I want to separate, I said, and she let go slowly, nodded, and gave me the saddest mercy by not arguing. The next week became keys, calendars, Moose's vet records, and a Google Sheet row labeled, "Who gets the good spatula?" Solved. We both did, bought another. The post-nup turned into signatures. Our parents picked sides in the well-meaning way that makes everything worse. Friends sent memes, then real messages, then asked if we were sure in the voice people use for the last slice. We sold the house because I couldn't walk past the hall closet without my chest tightening. She moved into a small place with good light and a view of the grocery store we always claimed we'd stop walking to once it snowed and never did. I rented a condo with a balcony big enough for a chair and a plant I would kill by October. Moose did sleepovers at both places and learned the word sleepover, wagging like it was a command. We did one last joint therapy session, drawing a map of our marriage with dotted lines like you use to label a river known to flood. We cried. We didn't kiss. We hugged like family. People asked if I forgave her. The honest answer, I forgave the person. I couldn't forgive the structure. Our structure failed at the beam. Mark moved in with a friend, then above a nail salon. Erin filed, grew her hair, started running at 6 a.m. By the river. We get coffee sometimes, talk about books, and keep men talk light. Jess volunteers at an animal rescue and sometimes texts me photos of potato-shaped dogs with captions like, "This one is Moose's cousin." We don't talk about Mark. She insists it ended on exposure day. Maybe that's true, or maybe shame figured out the deadbolt first. 6 months later, people assume the aftermath plays like a montage with a sad Hosier song. Boxes, sunset, haircut. There's some of that. Mostly there are curtain rods and paperwork and choosing a trash can alone. I kept the binder for a while. Thinner now because I pulled out the AirTag printouts. I don't want to be a guy who needs tracers to feel safe. Mornings are hardest. Not because I miss her constantly, though I do in stupid, precise ways like reaching automatically for a second mug or finding cinnamon in the wrong drawer, but because mornings are full of future, and for a long time I believed most strongly in the life we said out loud at 8 a.m. I went on a few dates. I learned I have no game and some honesty. On date 3, I told one woman the whole story and she said, "You can tell it without apologizing for how you survived," which might be the sexiest sentence I've ever heard. I did one petty revenge thing. Mark texted a month after separation about clearing the air. Being adults? Closure. I didn't reply. I forwarded it to the HOA group chat with, "Please keep basketball hoop noise down after 9 p.m. And also stop sleeping with your neighbors' wives." Immature, yes. Also objectively the funniest thing I've done. The chat blew up, then pivoted to an argument about off-leash dogs because communities heal weirdly. After that, I blocked him everywhere and went for a run until my lungs burned and my knee asked whether I was serious. Revenge bought me an hour. Peace came later, paid for with time and boring choices like saying no to midnight texts and leaving Target with only paper towels. Here's the twist I buried. That Airbnb review at the very beginning. After everything, I messaged the host to apologize and explain we couldn't leave a review because we didn't end up staying. The host replied, "You did stay. 2 guests. For nights. Check-in confirmed by code." She attached the SmartLock log. JH ****** entered 10:11 p.m. Friday, exited 6:40 a.m. Saturday, repeated 3 more nights. The same weekend Jess borrowed the spare key because her purse was Narnia. Erin later found toll records for Mark's truck. Eastbound 10:02 p.m. Westbound 6:53 a.m. Marching ants across maps. That weekend was the blueprint, the hole in the boat before we learned to swim. I even posted a photo of our dog in a bandana with the caption "family," while the scaffolding shook. When I learned this, I didn't call anyone. I drove to the Airbnb and watched a new couple carry a box up the steps, tired and giggly. He bumped the frame. She said, "We should have labeled the kitchen box coffee or death." The door closed and I let the past stay inside that building while the present sat in my car with dog hair and the peppermint gum Jess hated. I drove home. If you're awake at 2 a.m. because your partner forgot to turn off their location and your stomach tastes like a battery, hear me. Your gut isn't a cop, it's a historian whispering. We've seen this before. Evidence won't heal you. Boundaries might. You can love a person and leave a story. Exposure day is for clarity, not theatrics. A dot on a map can show where someone is, not whether they're coming back. Therapy is a cheat code, not a spell. You still have to hydrate, sleep, let friends make you soup. Dogs are better than most situations. You will laugh again. Not the brittle courtroom laugh, but the dumb, true kind that sneaks up while you buy a succulent you'll probably kill. I used to read stories like this and think, that would break me. It bent me loudly, like a branch in storm wind. Then spring loaded into a shape I didn't know I could hold. I don't have a bow on this ending. I have mornings that don't taste like pennies. A balcony chair, a plant trying its best, moose snoring like a small tractor, and my own name pronounced gently by me. And in the kitchen, one mug set out on purpose.